family, my name is Albert, and I welcome you all to Codolla. In this lesson, you will learn about the different kinds of data you can work with in your Python programs. You will also learn how to store your data in variables and how to use those variables in your programs. If you missed our first lesson on how to install Python, check it out before continuing. What really happens when you run hello-world.py? Let's take a closer look at what Python does when you run hello-world.py. As it turns out, Python does a fair amount of work, even when it runs a simple program. When you run this code, you should see this output. When you run the file hello-world.py, the ending .py indicates that the file is a Python program. Your editor then runs the file through the Python interpreter, which reads through the program and determines what each word in the program means. For example, when the interpreter sees the word print, it prints to the screen whatever is inside the parentheses. As you write your programs, your editor highlights different parts of your program in different ways. For example, it recognizes that print is the name of a function and displays that word in move. It recognizes that hello Python world is not Python code and displays that phrase in green. This feature is called syntax highlighting and is quite useful as you start to write your own programs. Variables. Let's try using a variable in hello-world.py. Add a new line at the beginning of the file and modify the second line. Run this program to see what happens. You would see the same output you saw previously. Hello Python world. We have added a variable named message. Every variable holds a value, which is the information associated with the variable. In this case, the value is the text hello Python world. Adding a variable makes a little more work for the Python interpreter. When it processes the first line, it associates the text hello Python world with the variable message. When it reaches the second line, it prints the value associated with the message to the screen. Let's expand on the program by modifying hello-world.py to print a second message. Add a blank line to hello-world.py and then add 2 new lines of code. Now, when you run hello-world.py, you see 2 lines of output. Hello Python world. Hello Python crash course world. You can change the value of a variable in your program at any time, and Python will always keep track of its current value. Naming and using variables. When you are using variables in Python, you need to adhere to a few rules and guidelines. Breaking some of these rules will cause errors. Other guidelines just help you write code that's easier to read and understand. Be sure to keep the following variable rules in mind. 1. Variable names can contain only letters, numbers, and underscores. They can start with a letter or an underscore, but not with a number. For instance, you can call a variable message underscore one, but not one underscore message. 2. Spaces are not allowed in variable names, but underscores can be used to separate words in variable names. For example, greeting underscore message works, but greeting message will cause errors. 3. Avoid using Python keywords and function names as variable names. That is, do not use words that Python has reserved for a particular programmatic purpose, such as the word print. 4. Variable names should be short but descriptive. For example, name is better than n, student underscore name is better than s underscore n, and name underscore length is better than length underscore of underscore persons underscore name. 5. Be careful when using the lowercase letter l and the uppercase letter o, because they could be confused with the number 1 and 0. It can take some practice to learn how to create good variable names, especially as your programs become more interesting and complicated. As you write more programs and start to read through other people's code, you will get better at coming up with meaningful names. Note that the Python variables you are using at this point should be lowercase. You won't get errors if you use uppercase letters, but it's a good idea to avoid using them for now. Avoiding name errors when using variables. Every programmer makes mistakes, and most make mistakes every day. Although good programmers might create errors, they also know how to respond to those errors efficiently. Let's look at an error you're likely to make early on and learn how to fix it. We will write some code that generates an error on purpose. Enter the following code, including the misspelled word message shown in bold. When an error occurs in your program, the Python interpreter does its best to help you figure out where the problem is. The interpreter provides a traceback when the program cannot run successfully. A traceback is a record of where the interpreter ran into trouble when trying to execute your code. Here's an example of the traceback that Python provides after you have accidentally misspelled a variable name. In line 2 of the file hello-world.py, the interpreter shows this line to help us spot the error quickly and tells us what kind of error it found. In this case, it found a name error and reports that the variable being printed message has not been defined. Python can't identify the variable name provided. A name error usually means we either forgot to set a variable's value before using it, or we made a spelling mistake when entering the variable's name. Of course, in this example, we omitted the letter S in the variable name message in the second line. The Python interpreter doesn't spell check your code, but it does ensure that variable names are spelled consistently. For example, watch what happens when we spell message incorrectly in another place in the code as well. In this case, the program runs successfully. Hello, Python Crash Course Reader. Computers are straight, but they disregard good and bad spelling. As a result, you don't need to consider English spelling and grammar rules when you are trying to create variable names and writing code. Many programming errors are simple, single character typos in one line of a program. If you are spending a long time searching for one of these errors, know that you are in good company. Many experienced and talented programmers spend hours hunting down these kinds of tiny errors. Try to laugh about it and move on, knowing it will happen frequently throughout your programming life. Note that the best way to understand new programming concepts is to try using them in your programs. If you get stuck while working on an exercise in this video, try doing something else for a while. If you are still stuck, review the relevant part of this video. And if you still need help, you need to join our WhatsApp group. Try this yourself. Write a separate program to accomplish each of these exercises. Save each program with a file name that follows standard Python conventions, using lowercase letters and underscores, such as simple_message.py and simple_messages.py. Simple message: store a message in a variable and then print that message. Simple messages: Store a message in a variable and print that message. Then change the value of your variable to a new message and print the new message. Great job. See you in the next lesson.